doing your PhD was not actually having as much impact as you hoped? Is that kind of the thought process that was happening?
So that I knew that wasn't going to have any impact, right? I mean, I've seen it myself, right? I mean, I've seen it since then. It's like, wow, a lot of these PhD, nobody reads them, nobody builds things off them. They're not really, sort of evolving the field. They're not really lifting the field forward, pushing the field forward. It's like you like to have that doctor,
right,
PhD, right? So it was a realization. Let's not sink another couple of years of my life into this and actually go do what I love to do.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the NG 英文 Show. My name is John Drummond, or Yang Haoen.
Hi, 大家好，欢迎回到 NG 英文，我是 Stephanie。今天的来宾是一位创业家，他目前在经营区块链上的 Miston Labs。接下来就让我们来欢迎 Evan。Today
I am joined by a superstar, the handsome man, Mr. Evan. Evan is an entrepreneur. He is the co-founder of Miston Labs, which is on the Sui blockchain. He is doing so many things in Taiwan, Europe, and North America, and he's here to join us to share about his life and his language journey. So everyone, please welcome Evan.
Thanks for having me here, John.
Yeah.
Delighted to be here.
You know, it's so great to have you back in Taiwan. You said you've just been back for a few days, is that right?
Yeah, I've been back. This is my third day.
And I was so happy to hear that you were like, man, it is humid.
It's something else.
Yeah, I'm always happy when my Taiwanese friends say that.
It dumps on you just like that.
Just out of nowhere, it's raining now.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you're here. You have a packed schedule doing this Taiwan tour right now. So I was hoping, could you maybe in your own words give a little introduction to our audience here on NG 英文?
Hey, I'm Evan. I'm the co-founder CEO of Miston Lab. Being the tech business, I grew up in Taiwan. Left when I was a teenager. So it's great to be here, back here. So
Woo.
I've been in the tech business for a long time. Right after graduate school, I kind of did my first startup stint way ago, long time ago. You don't even want to know. Back then wasn't sexy like it's now, right? And then
now you're taking selfies with people, right?
right. Yeah, but I also spent 10 years at Apple, right? Did a bunch of stuff, won some awards, got some reputation, got recruited to back then was Facebook and spent 6.5 years there. Then later on got into the blockchain business, right? I was leading R&D for the Libra/DM project and finally gave up the big tech life again, decided if you want to do something right, you have to do it yourself, right? So, it's hard, right? But I founder after I turned 50, right? So that's insane. My wife
awesome.
always asks me, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I told her, "Hey, have you seen, like, if I stay in this big tech, I'm just going to one day just going to jump." Right.
Wow.
And that's how frustrating I got to be. Yeah. So I had to do what I have to do.
Well, I appreciate the honesty and the realness of that because, so well said there. If you want to do it right, you got to do it yourself. And I'm hoping we can dive a little bit into that today.
Evan 来自台湾，但在青少年时期就离开了。那他担任 Miston Labs 的执行长。那他也跟大家分享，他在研究所毕业之后就创业了。那后来也去了苹果公司待了10年，然后被挖角到脸书的公司。那他脸书工作了6年半之后，他才开始接触了区块链。那他后来决定放弃在大公司工作，并且在50岁的这一年再次创业。那我们继续来听接下来的专访吧。
So, as you said, tech has been a huge focus of your life, and now specifically blockchain tech. So our audience here has a bit of an understanding. I've talked about blockchain technology a lot on the show with different founders, but maybe can you take it from your perspective? What made you want to dive into blockchain technology yourself?
How many ways I have to say it, right? So it never really makes sense to me. There's even on the purely technical level, right? You look at this, it's like, so think about, if you're submitting a transaction to a blockchain, the blockchain is going to basically aggregate, forming a block of your along with your transaction with everybody else, right? Even though a lot of time whatever you're trying to do have no sort of relationship with other transactions or no contention in a more of kind of a computer science geeky way.
Yeah.
Right?
I love
and
it.
things are basically being processed together. So there's a lot of kind of intuition around it when I first look at it. And you look at the language, you look at everything. It's like, this is early, right? This reminds me of, sort of almost like, early years I had to use a dial modem.
I love it, yeah.
Right. Later on, people using flip phones and then BlackBerry, which is not mainstream, right?
Yeah.
And the blockchain experience even today, if you were dealing with crypto, is like, any of you crypto savvy
friends
ever use, crypto, your entries often like MetaMask, right?
Correct. Yep.
MetaMask, you have like all these tokens. You have to figure out, it's like, okay, am I paying in Ethereum, in gas, and how much I have? And then you do something, and then, half a second later, you have to put something on MetaMask, right? Say, do you still want to sign this transaction? It's gibberish, you have nothing. I tell you what to do, and there's something about gas estimate and keep on changing if you even hesitate for a second, right? And then sometimes you submit the transaction fail, right? You have no idea what happens, right? And if you want to do things like, do I want to bridge into this and that? So, a lot of these things are just kind of, hey, there's no way this is...
It's not intuitive for so many people there, right?
Right. I mean, this is not going to be the end form, right? This is not going to be mainstream. This is not going to be the kind of thing that actually impact, hundreds of millions and billions of people, right? Just think about that jump in technologies we have seen in many other different verticals, right? Cell phone, right? It took until probably I'll say even the second or third generation iPhone for people to really say, hey, this is part of my life. I got to carry this with me the whole time. This has changed everything, what I do, right? And things evolve. From that, right, in the mobile phone was, I still remember Angry Bird. Like people all of a sudden start playing games on a mobile phone, right? And that was, the introduction to the mainstream, right?
Right,
So,
and it was like from the app store creation, like a marketplace concept right there, right? That made people like, I can use this one phone, but I can bring apps in from all different companies.
Right. Yeah, anyway, I mean, just when you recognize that, you see this great opportunity, right? The concept of blockchain, crypto, a lot of these things make perfect sense. At the same time, the experience doesn't make sense, right? You dig into it and realize, it's not for lack of trying. The technology is limited, right? It's very limited.
And that's been my experience. You summed it up beautifully. And I still am very positive and optimistic about the technology. It just seems there needs to be some incredible minds like yourself that come in and help restructure how we onboard the next wave, in the next run. Let's now fast forward to Miston Labs. So what's the focus with Miston Labs, and how have you been trying to rethink about that process of maybe the user experience?
So it's not just a user experience, right? A lot of time people talk about the user experience being terrible. You need better product design there. But when you dig in, you understand this underlying technology is holding you back, right? Again, MetaMask is the way it is because it requires these steps for you to perform a function, right? So these things need to be made better, right? We have a concept of, sponsored transactions. Like, if you're using an app, they eat the cost to onboard customers, right? Hopefully they make money off you later, right? Sponsored transactions. In example of that, we have a concept we will show off, integrate into wallet very soon. It's called ZK login. Basically, using zero-knowledge proof allow you to log in with your Google ID, right? Then you don't have to go through the process of creating wallets and all that sort of thing, addresses and managing all that, your keys,
getting your
and
seed keys and seed phrases,
those kind of very, very hard, right? So combination of those things is going to eliminate a lot of friction, right? So, but that is based on underlying technology allow that to happen. So we mainly literally was launched a month ago, right? So
congratulations.
It's a staging period, right? And we knew, like you just launched and the developer are still catching up, right? We need the time to make sure to help them, sort of onboarding the users, their customer, acquire the customer correctly and do things right. And then more things are coming, right? One by one. So I'll say the next focus is make sure they are successful. And we will also build our own first party app, killer app, and there's something very big we're working on, right? So when you're doing any kind of developer platform, even anybody, right? So sometimes you have to choose, right? Do I build on it myself Do I partner with others? Do I let the market sort of figure out itself?
Kind of like open source style.
Yeah, all that sort of thing, right? Sometimes you have to build something yourself to showcase what's possible, and then that spurs competition because people realize, hey, that's cool. I want to build something even better to compete with you, make some money, right? That's how things work.
Yeah, that's really the capitalistic kind of the positive side of the free market right there, right?
Right.
Yes, I love it. And it makes me think too, developers, they get inspired. If you build a great killer app, as you said, that could be a fun buzzword. So building something yourself to start the process, to inspire users to come try it, to inspire developers to build other things around this and compete with you is a beautiful model. I love that concept. And so thinking about, as you said, congratulations on the launch.
Thank you.
But what's next, if you don't mind? If you could project a little bit into the future, what are you guys really trying to accomplish here?
Well, I mean, I think the ecosystem growth is going to be very important, right? So usually in this field, the DGen is going to move the fastest,
There's
right?
a good buzzword, DGens.
DGen is going to move the fastest, and you're going to try it and see if there's a way for them to make more money, right? Yeah, make some money, right? You need to support them because there's one that you experiment first, right? Then you bring on other applications like games. They will bring their own audience, their own customer, right? And then you grow. Right, you grow from that, right? Literally, this is what we say a flywheel, right? Time you crank that wheel until it gets going and just keep going itself and gets bigger and bigger, right? So, DGens, application that bring their own customer, some more enterprisey, bigger products that come in, bring even more customer, more DGen come in, right? You have a virtuous cycle, right? And all kinds of application interact with each other, different assets that, kind of collaborate with each other, right? This is the thing that the young people these days want, right? Chanel merge with Nike, right?
Right. The brand, big brands,
right? And these independent hip brands that are coming together. That sort of thing, you want to see that happen, and all of a sudden, the thing just take off.
Yeah.
Right. And then we hopefully along the way, introduce our own killer apps and showcase. Hopefully, get people to think in a different direction they were not thinking before. Right.
Something that you're doing right now is you're launching in what we call in these kind of market cycles, the bear market, right? And I love this because this is when the real, the products and the companies that are meant to kind of last. When you are building in the bear, we say, that's when you have some serious, you have some belief, you have some faith that, hey, what we're doing is meaningful and here's why we're doing it. Yep. So congratulations on that. And
thank you.
加油.
Yeah, we're literally just saying we have now raced to the starting point. Now the hard things, starts, right? Now it's a different phase.
It's a whole different phase. Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I wish you continued success with that, Evan.
来宾会接触区块链的原因是因为他认为其实目前的区块链是非直觉性 not intuitive。那因为就算是有在接触虚拟货币的人都不一定会使用区块链，那他认为这不会是最终版本。那来宾就拿苹果的手机来比喻，像当时其实苹果的第2、3代手机开始，大部分的人才意识到这将会是他们之后随身携带的手机，并且比较常使用。像大家会开始玩手机游戏也是因为愤怒鸟的出现，那大众才知道说原来可以在 App 商店上面下载来自不同公司的软体使用。那现在来宾的公司在研发的概念就是想要透过 Google 的信箱就能创造冷热钱包跟钱包地址，因为其实现在的模式是需要很多验证步骤，而且比较麻烦。那来宾也分享他们其实在1个月前刚发布了他们的产品，但毕竟才刚开始，他其实很清楚的知道他的开发人员还需要一点时间跟上，所以他接下来的重心会放在协助他们成功。那同时他们其实也有在制作一个派对 App。那来宾也知道其实现在大众的口味还是比较倾向于跟大品牌合作，但他最终还是希望自己在制作 App 的过程当中可以找出一个新的模式，并且受到大众的喜爱。那 John 也提到其实会在熊市的时候创造一个商品，代表他们是相信自己的产品而且并具有意义的，所以很想要跟来宾说一声加油啊，因为这个真的很不容易。那我们继续来听接下来的专访吧。
And do you mind if we switch gears a little bit to share a little more about your life in the sense of, I believe you grew up in Kaohsiung.
Yep.
And you're up here in the Tianlongren now in Taipei with us, but your home is US and you spend a lot of time in the US and all over the world. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So I left Kaohsiung spent 2 years in South Africa. Just
cool.
before I turned 16. Yeah, my father was there doing business, right? It's funny thing, I actually didn't finish high school. Right? High school was so boring, and I actually then find a college in Ohio, small college. It's pretty solid, right? But they didn't check very closely. They accept me and say, okay, now's my chance to go to college, right? This high school thing is pretty boring for me, right? And went to college and finished very quickly, right? 3-year valedictorian and all that crap, and then went to my PhD program. Then 4 years in, wrote 4 chapters, my thesis, and then one day I realized, you know what? This doesn't really move the needle. This is not something I am inspiring myself, let alone other, right? Even past the first phase of PhD, right? And basically the committee say, yeah, you're good to go to continue research, write the paper and all that sort of thing. In a year or two, once you get to the certain point, you're going to get a PhD. And I just realized it's like, this is not for me. I should be out building rather than doing things I don't actually believe in. And then that's the journey, right? So I got a funny experience. I spent a summer at Bell Lab, right? A premier research lab. Then went to a startup in Seattle, and then, then spent 7 years there, right? Because it was, and move on to California, and that's where I've been ever since.
I love it. I love that concept of moving the needle right there, and the realization that doing your PhD was not actually having as much impact as you hoped. Is that kind of the thought process that was happening?
So that I knew that wasn't going to have any impact, right? I mean, I seen it myself, right? I mean, I seen it since then. It's like, wow, a lot of these PhD have nobody reads them, nobody build things off them. They're not really, sort of evolving the field. They're not really lifting the field forward, pushing the field forward. Then you're just doing it because you like to have that doctor, your PhD pride, and wasn't ever going to be a professor because it's not my thing, right? I like to build, right? So it was a realization. Let's not sink another couple years of my life into this and actually go do what I love to do.
I love it. It's very admirable of you.
来宾来自高雄，那因为父亲生意的关系，所以后来离开台湾后去了南非住了2年。而且来宾说，他其实没有完成高中的学业，因为他当时觉得高中太无聊了，所以他就申请了一间在俄亥俄州的大学，并且被录取了。他后来还是毕业生代表 valedictorian， 那他毕业后就去读博士学位了。那他读了4年之后才发现这完全不是他想要的。那他分享，他其实花了一个暑假在一间实验室之后，他就去西雅图的一间新创公司。那他之后搬到加州后就一直待在那边了。那他认为博士学位不是他想要的，是因为他认为没有人在读这些论文，也没有人真的在实际做出什么东西，所以好像没有办法前进跟进化。那他也没有打算成为教授，所以他认为他不应该继续浪费时间了。我们继续来听接下来的专访吧。
And so then fast forward, so you're in the US, you're in the West Coast. Was that when Silicon Valley kind of days happened? Was that Google and then Facebook, now Meta? Is that those days?
Yeah, so I came to California for a startup, right? After spending 7 years at a startup that wasn't going anywhere.
Bell, right? Bell Labs?
No, it's a startup in semiconductor after Bell Lab. It didn't go anywhere. I joined another startup in the Bay Area. This time I got a lot smarter. It's like 1 year in, I was like, this is not going anywhere, right?
You started being able to see.
Right, and then that's when I joined Apple.
Got it.
Right.
And so was the concept of joining Apple to better understand a larger kind of enterprise mindset? Was that to basically do a field PhD in a company that is successful? I mean, that's just my take there.
Yeah, that sounds great, except it wasn't the case, right? I mean, it was literally like, you know what, maybe...
I need some money.
Maybe I'm not, I didn't have the best luck with startups. Maybe I should get a job.
A real job.
A real job, yeah. But I went in and turned out I was very good at what I do, and just kind of my career grew from there. Yeah.
Thinking about all of this now, how did language play a part of this? When did because you said you didn't finish high school, did your language really develop, your English specifically, in South Africa? Or was that grown here in Kaohsiung?
I mean, you do learn English in school, right? And I think I was a good student. South Africa, they're bilingual, right? Africans and English, and I gave up on Afrikaans. I just focused on English. So it helped a lot, right? But 2 years wasn't like enough to be completely, fluent, proficient. And then just over the years, right? Over the years in college and grad schools and working, right? And
Yeah, and it's awesome because now thinking what an asset to have because you can come back. I mean, you're actually back in Taiwan right now and you're meeting with some, I want to say politicians and maybe the banks, and is this a way to kind of try to collaborate right now in using Mandarin, using English to build that a bit cross-culturally?
I mean, it's a lot of things, right? There's a promotional aspect, right? What we believe what we're doing is very different from everyone else, right? And Taiwan is a big Ethereum shop, basically. That's a lot of the people building, right? They think about blockchain a certain way, right? We need to at least, plant a seed, say, hey, there's something very different, we believe a lot better out there. At least take a look, right? And there are some potential partners. We're talking to banks and other enterprises as well. And there's meeting with a, developer already in the ecosystem. There's meeting with government officials. I wouldn't say politicians, government officials, and there's just people that are friends, right? They've been fans of us, our work for a while. They want to meet and help us with just making the connection, right? So I think of myself as sort of a business development at the highest kind of level, right? Meeting government people, enterprise, regulators, all kinds, right? All kinds of people who are, right? They respect our, kind of they deserve our respect, right? To pay them a personal visit,
It's
just
awesome.
planting seeds.
Yeah, so planting those seeds and thinking about it, though, from the kind of language aspect of that, you're doing that all in Mandarin. Are you coming back and having to almost touch up on your Mandarin again?
You know what? I try, but a lot of time I revert back to English.
Oh, so you're doing those meetings a lot in English?
Mix. I'll say mix,
oh,
right?
That's very cool,
so the other day I gave a presentation basically entirely in English, right? Because it's just a lot of technical terms, a lot of things that, I knew if I tried to do in Mandarin, I'm going to get stutter and going to be challenged, right? Then you just kind of don't have that energy. So I did most of the, in English, right? I sneak in a few Chinese Mandarin, phrases.
Help everyone along.
Right. But it was an audience that's generally a lot of, proficient.
Got it.
So that works, right? In private meetings, usually both, right? Because it's more allowed me to slow down and say, I'm going to, sort of go in this part in English and try to, sometimes people help me translate, right? All that. Yeah,
I mean, and it's beautiful. I mean, and that to me is kind of the heart of this show, is just to showcase that, it's not just about having one language or two or anything. I mean, it's a fluidity of being able to use both, have teams that support you. And I love that you're giving a lot of these talks in English and it's received well, especially, maybe with higher ups. And so that's wonderful.
Well, maybe people just pretend they
understand
me, right?
Yes, yeah.
Of course I understand. Yeah, sure. My English is great. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Yeah. But I mean, if you're giving a presentation, I think written and reading is still very strong.
The presentation's in Chinese written form, and then I speak English, so hopefully people match.
Oh, that's cool. Right. So it's actually presentation is in Chinese.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super helpful.
Yeah.
But there you go, guys. Tip of the day right there. Present the PPT or the slides in Mandarin, but then you can speak in English. I love it. Evan, well, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the show here. Thank you so much for your time and really just your passion for tech and pushing the envelope for what's possible.
来宾分享他的英文能力是在学校学习的，那当然到了南非，因为这是双语国家的关系，对他的帮助也是蛮大的。但毕竟2年的时间是不足以让他精通，所以他认为其实后来是研究所跟工作之后才真的累积出他现在的英文能力。那来宾也分享他现在回台湾之后也开始在见不同的政府官员以及一些银行跟公司行号。那他跟这些人在开会的时候会在中英文之间切换。那像他说他前阵子在报告的时候全程用英文在说，那主要原因是因为很多专业名词 technical terms， 所以他选择用英文。那他也分享他的 PPT 是全用中文的。那我们继续来听接下来的专访吧。
But a question I love to end with, it's a little bit out of left field, but it's if you could go back and talk to a younger Evan, maybe when you were in Kaohsiung or South Africa, would there be any advice you give yourself about tech, language, school, anything?
Relationship, right? I was one of those you may have seen in movie. They portray this lone wolf developer. I did some of that, right? Literally locked myself in office, and a weekend later I came out and say I solved it. I did this. You guys, ha ha ha, right? In hindsight, I have grown to be much more mature, right? And that would be one thing I would say to my younger self, right? Your skill is not everything, right? To be successful, you need people around you. You can help them, they can help you is very, very important, right? And it has to be genuine, right? You really have to understand what other people are trying to accomplish and how you can work together, how can you help each other. That would be one thing I will the advice I will give to my younger self.
It's beautiful advice and well said. And look at you now. You've got a beautiful team around you. You've got a beautiful family. And so congratulations on all of that.
来宾会给年轻自己的建议就是单拥有技术是不够的，因为来宾形容自己年轻的时候就像电影里面的独行侠，他不太喜欢跟其他人打交道，他也只专注在自己解决问题。但是比较成熟之后，他发现如果要成功的话，其实会需要身边围绕着可以互相帮助的人，并且要诚心的想着要如何互相扶持哦。那我们就谢谢今天的来宾 Evan。All
right. Well, where can people find more about your life online? Where can they find more about Miston Labs online?
Well, Twitter is a good place, right? If you use Twitter, you can follow Miston Lab. I think it's Miston, MYSTEN with underscore labs, right, on Twitter. Myself my handle on Twitter is Evan Web3. It's relatively easy.
Nice.
Right, 3 network.
I'm impressed you got that.
Yeah, 3 network is just one word. 3 network, one word. So you can find a lot of information about us, right? And you can just follow our website, from Twitter to the website, look at everything we do, read some documentation. And one thing I would say to everybody who's even remotely curious about this space, don't be a maxi. Keep an open eye. Think about how things evolve. There's always something better. Tech always move forward, right? What looks good seems like the winner right now, often or not, right? We have seen this over and over and over again. Yeah.
Thinking about a word there, maxi. Someone who really only feels that one way is the best way and they don't stay open-minded. And here on the NG Ingwen Show, we believe in staying open-minded. So explore, stay curious. Evan, thank you for joining us on the NG Ingwen Show.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. Thank you so much for joining us on the NG Ingwen Show. Please go follow along with Evan Web3 on Twitter, or follow along with Miston Labs or Sui Blockchain, wherever you can find that. Or myself, John Drummond, 89, or Yang Haolin. All right, everyone. Thank you for your curiosity, your dedication to learning, and your open mind. We'll talk to you next time. All right. Well, that is our NG Ingwen Show for today. We hope everyone enjoyed listening to that. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Spotify. You can search NG Ingwen, or you can search on IG, NG English, ICRT. And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday morning from 6:30 to 7, and Wednesday night from 9 to 9:30. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.